Today we're going to talk about something that I think some of you will find interesting. Developing a life course, a curriculum for Christian men. Over the past couple of weeks, I've been thinking hard about what sort of content do I want to create for this channel. And I know what kind of content I want to create. I want to do real world skills, carpentry, woodworking, vehicle repair, gardening, beneficial skills that so many of us have lost now. All right, the only problem is I don't have time to do those things and film those things. I work full time, so what limited time I've got to get those things done. I don't have time to film it. And I noticed over the past month or so that it seems like the content's turning into me just complaining about all of the stupid going on out there right now. Well, I definitely don't want to create that sort of content. There's enough of that now. So I got to thinking, what would actually be beneficial? I mean, what could help someone? The skills I think could help a lot of people, but I can't do that. And then from there I got to think, okay, well, what would be beneficial? And then it occurred to me, what would be beneficial for so many people now is for Christian men to step up and be leaders. I was thinking about all of the stupid going on in the country at the moment, and I've never seen this nation in the shape we're in now. Okay, forget the corruption, just the pure incompetence. Okay, well then as I was thinking about that, I was thinking, well, who's going to fix this? Well, I know who's going to fix this. If it's going to get fixed, we're going to fix it. Just Christian men. That's who built it. If it's going to continue, we're going to have to maintain it and keep it going. All right? And so we have to take ownership, personal responsibility. That's what we're talking about here. Okay, and a lot of the reasons that we're in the position we are is because we got lazy. Bottom line. We got lazy and started not going to church. Okay, so we started sleeping in on Sunday mornings or going and doing fun things and enjoying life. I mean, life was so good, we didn't have to go to church now. Well, then we lost a lot by not going to church that we didn't even realize it. I didn't realize it until I started going back to church. We started losing our communities. Okay, so used to. Everybody knew everybody in a small town or even in larger towns. In a neighborhood, everybody knew everybody. So the people that were running for county council and city council and local offices, everybody knew them. You went to church with them. You knew them personally. Or if you didn't, your cousin went to church with them on the other side of town or 6 blocks over or whatever. So everybody knew everybody. Or at least knew somebody that did. And we quit going to church. And then all of a sudden our city councils and county councils started becoming corrupt because we didn't know who we were voting for anymore. We started voting along party lines. And what made me realize that? Election, I don't know, maybe a year ago here, generally I tend to vote Republican. I'm conservative, but I'm not a Republican, but Republicans tend to align more with my values. Okay, with this particular election, the people in my church knew the Republican that was running for whatever office, and they all agreed he was a snake in the grass. At the same time, they all knew the woman that was running against him as Democrat, and everybody thought she was just wonderful and super sharp and absolutely good moral person, the type person you would want in that position in your community. I voted Democrat. Okay, well, back then we could vote for individuals. Now, since we don't know the candidates, we don't know anybody that does, know them firsthand, nobody that we trust, we vote party lines. So we end up with 2 corrupt parties. Our city councils become more and more corrupt, and then our county councils become more and more corrupt, and then our state governments become more and more corrupt, and then our federal government. That's what we lost by not going to church. We lost our communities. Okay, so that's our laziness right there. Well, how do we fix it? Okay, well, we'll go back to church, but church doesn't work for a lot of people now, a lot of young men especially. All right, I've got theories as to why, but it's irrelevant. Okay, so how do we make church work for young men again? Okay, and what do young men need now? They need guidance. I mean, that's the biggest thing I see. I see so many just completely lost young men right now that just don't have a clue as to how the world works or anything else. They are poorly educated in our educational system. So many things we could get into here that I'm not, but bottom line is, back to the personal responsibility. Okay, if they're poorly educated, and myself included in this, then we need to step up and educate ourselves. Okay, so create a curriculum. We've also become very weak, physically and mentally and spiritually. Okay, that's something else we can work on right there. Especially as Christian men. There's too many of us that we spend more time at the dinner table than we do out working this off. Okay, so that's something else for us to work on. So many issues here. And I started writing things down, and what I came up with, I thought this was pretty interesting. Very first thing I put on the list as far as what we need to do. We need to learn to fear the Lord again. And that is the beginning of wisdom. And it teaches us humility, and we've got to have that. Okay, so the second thing I put down was personal responsibility. We've got to focus on that one, and accountability. Okay, we've got to fix the problems if they're going to get fixed. And here's the thing, if the problems don't get fixed, and our country continues this downward slide, we've still got to look out for ourselves and our families. All right, so if the rest of the country goes to hell in a handbasket around us, we still got to step up and be the leaders for ourselves and our families. Okay, so that personal responsibility and accountability is not going anywhere. Self-discipline, that's the third one. That's getting in so many areas on this one. Okay, and that's the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. That's how we strengthen ourselves is with discipline. Okay, education. Most of us have been so poorly educated for so long, we need to start over. We need to come up with, okay, what are the essential things we need to know about Western civilization? World history, the Greeks, the Romans, the progression of the church. I mean, there's so many things that are so valuable, along with literature, and so many things in the past. Now I'm thinking about the founders here. Our founders here in the United States were, for the most part, self-educated. All right, and they spoke Greek, they spoke Latin. When they read so many accounts, biblical accounts, they were reading it in the original language or in Latin. They were reading the ancient Greek. So when they developed our Constitution, they were going to original sources to do this. They did this in the 1700s. And yet, most of us now, I mean, we wouldn't even know where to start with that level of, what's the word I'm looking for here? Scholarship. Okay, so education, we need to prioritize. Education, Western education, Western literature. All right, and there is an absolute attack on that right now. Anyway, different subject. And history falls into that also. All right, and then moral and physical strength, which ties into the self-discipline, but we've actually got to go out there and put in the reps. Okay, we've got to get in shape, and that's something I've been working on for myself and making a little progress, but not near as much as I'd hoped. But okay, and then finally, community. Okay, we've got to put our communities back together. Our city councils, county councils, our state governments, and finally our federal governments. But we've got to put ourselves back together before we can go fixing local governments and then state and then federal governments. Okay, so we've got some work to do here, and I was thinking, okay, well, what's the best way to accomplish this? Well, first of all, I think we need to change our Sunday school curriculums a little bit. We've got to come up with something that actually helps young men. And okay, there's nothing more important on Sunday morning than worshiping the Lord, and that has to be our absolute number one priority, which to fear the Lord was number one, and that's where we learn that. And maybe we really stay on that in Sunday school. But I was watching a Sunday school class online on YouTube here. If I can find it again, I'll leave a link below. But it was just really interesting. The guy teaching the class was tying ancient history into the Old Testament. All right, so he was going through what was happening in Babylon at the time based on archaeological records. And then, okay, this was what was occurring biblically at the exact same time. And that was really fascinating. I enjoyed that. Okay, I don't normally get that level, something that thought-provoking from a standard Sunday school class. Well, maybe that's why so many young men now aren't going to Sunday school class, and they're not sticking around for the sermon afterwards either. Okay, just something to contemplate there. Okay, and then and in addition to that, there's so many things we could do at our churches not on Sunday. Okay, so Wednesday night services that have disappeared at so many churches now. What else could we spend an hour on Wednesday night doing? Maybe going, us young men in a church discussing, okay, what do we need to do here as far as reading list, Western literature, in addition to the Bible? What can we do? How can we go further on Bible study? What do we want to work on as far as nutrition and getting in shape? What are some goals here we could all set for ourselves and have an environment where we can work on this together? I mean, just so much potential here for this. Okay, so that just really hit me hard today when all that started coming to me. And then it occurred to me, on my list, when I got through, I had 6 things. Okay, well, that's 6 days right there to be working on some stuff, and it left 7 for rest, the 7th day for rest. So that's what I'm thinking at the moment, what I'm working on. I'd love to hear some ideas from some of you. And this coming week, I'm going to talk to some people that are a lot smarter and wiser than myself, including my pastor. See if we can start putting something down on paper and start implementing some stuff. And I'd been thinking along these lines for a couple months now. Okay, and what got me started, member of our church, and close to my age, but he quit coming to church because he joined a motorcycle gang and he's busy with it. Okay, that's not good. Now, there are some really good motorcycle clubs out there, and his is, I'm sure, a decent one. He's a good guy. I'm sure he's around other okay people. I ain't gonna get into why I'm thinking, they could use a little work. But I remember when he bought his motorcycle about a year ago, and he started riding around, and then he started talking to other people in other clubs, and started talking about the vests and their colors and all the rules, and if you wear this in this area, they'll beat you up. And I mean, it sounded like a bunch of kids. Honestly, that's what it sounded like. Don't come in our clubhouse without the secret password. Well, he was getting something from that he wasn't getting from church, at least our church. And I'm going to say with all churches now, because the motorcycle clubs are growing faster than our churches are. I realized then we've got to do something with our churches. We've got to do something for men. Something that they do feel like they're part of something. And then so, few of the young men, we don't have many young men in our church. I definitely said where they could use some serious help in a lot of areas. Okay, and then I see so many of us Christian men now, we're just not leaders. We're not producing leaders in our churches. Okay, so yeah, that's what I'm working on. That's what we're going to talk about over the next couple of weeks. And we're going to talk about some fruit trees. Spring is coming on quick, and I got to get some fruit trees in the ground. I know, different topic, but not really. Okay, if we're going to be leaders, we've got to be able to provide. All right, we've got to be able to provide for ourselves and our families. We've got to understand the basics. Okay, we can't be like they are in Europe and people who don't know anything about farming are making laws about farmers, trying to get rid of the farmers, and now the farmers are really not happy and protesting and all of the chaos they got going on. How's the U.S. any different? I mean, our whole country's full of incompetence, so we definitely got to get back to learning some basic skills here, and that's all of us. And then if we can apply a little education to that and some knowledge and physical, moral, and spiritual strength, isn't that what a leader is? All right, just some stuff to think about this week. Look forward to reading your comments. God bless and have a great day.